Trending Topic Show with Rashad, Bilal, executive produced by Kevin Egger. Welcome to Trending Topic Show. I'm your host, Rashad Bilal, and today we have a very special guest, Coach Benjamin Carter.
Yes.
So for anybody that's not from Greenburgh or not familiar with the area, I'll give a quick background. Coach Carter has been doing great work in the community for as long as I've actually been alive, for decades. He is a basketball coach. He's won Coach of the Year over 6-7 times. He used to be the coach of Alexander Hamilton High School women's program. Now he's the coach of White Plains High School women's program. He also has a grassroots basketball program called Frenji, has an apparel line, has done all-star games in the past. If you're in Westchester and you're familiar with the basketball circuit or you're around the basketball circuit, you definitely know Coach Carter. So thank you for coming.
Yes, glad to be here, Rashad.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything.
I just want to get right into it. For anybody that doesn't know you, can you just I know I gave you a background, but can you just give them a quick background of who you are, what you do day to day, and what's your current
My name is Benjamin Carter. Actually from Greenburgh. Came here, my early ages, from Chicago, but Westchester kind of like defined who I am today and how I got into what I do. Growing up in an area where Greenburgh brought together, a family grassroots, something that I needed growing up as an individual, where sometimes you want your family to be tight, but it's not tight, and then people in the area, allow you to grow up and be family. Growing up in Greenburgh, I was able to get into what I'm doing, growing up around guys, who was heavy into basketball and watching them develop, in which that's how I developed, It's been pretty much good because I'm now coaching, I'm now giving back, doing what guys, allowed me to do growing up.
So how'd you get into coaching girls? Because I remember, because originally when you were my coach, you were coaching the boys. So what made you get into coaching girls high school?
Well, actually, girls wasn't my forte. I was actually coaching with Coach Mayfield, White Plains High School. Then a position opened up at Westchester Community College, and I took that assistant job. And Paul Hood from Hamilton at the time, kept reaching out to me about coaching the girls program. And I kept putting it off. Then all of a sudden, Frank Host gave me a call, the athletic director. And he was like, listen, we would like for you to coach because you're being recommended. So I thought about it, and as being a coach and a developer, I wanted to get that management on my resume. So I took girls, I just went for the job, and it just sort of happened. I grew into it, and I found the knack of coaching girls and boys, which is different, the mindset, because you have to study their minds.
What's the difference between coaching boys and coaching girls?
Girls are a little more structured, like mentally. Guys is a little different, where sometimes, they don't grasp things right away. I found that females grasp where you can really teach, other than just being on the basketball court. And I had to gravitate towards that. It was sort of like a relationship.
They're more receptive.
Yeah, more receptive. It's like you have to have that communication going on, that barrier of communication.
Right.
So I learned how to communicate more with females, which became, pretty cool at the time.
So you've been coaching girls and I want to get this right, because to me you're a legend. So I want to make sure I get all your accolades correct. Can you just tell them, like, how many, if you don't know off the top of your head, but how many state or section championships do you have? How many Coach of the Year awards do you have? How many players went D1? Like, kind of run down your resume so people that may not be familiar with you can get the full gravitas of how good of a coach you are.
I mean, other than what I do now on the high school level, it started at, dealing with kids at such a young age, just instilling, the early fundamentals, the stages of development, the foundation, building that foundation. And I watch guys like, God bless his dad, Frankie Williams, who was the guy, one of my mentors, who I ended up working with, but was my coach early on. I mean, we had like Taylor Foster, you know, we watched Daniel Abrams, Kurt Williams, Dante Taylor,
Sean
Kilpatrick, you know, all those guys, you know, we were able to like mold at an early age and move on. And when I got on the high school level, I was able to watch Shireen Lightbourne go to Rider University. My hood ended up going to Lafayette. Tiffany Corselli, Niagara. Then you had Amani Lightbourne ended up going to Southern Connecticut. Then there's a lot of other players as well, even watching Amani Topher grow up, who started at such a young age, who went to Georgia Tech. Then you have Portia Postel, that ended up going to Kentucky. So it's a lot more kids than what I'm naming right now. And you have like my Stalvey, Loyola, Maryland. It's a big list.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's an awful lot. You know, but you know, I don't look for accolades. That's not my thing. You know, it's more like developing and seeing kids, you know, just grow. But that kind of goes back to, you know, my grassroots, how I grew up, and realized, you know, it's not about you. It's about, you know, what you can provide and give.
But I think it's important to, even if you don't brag, for somebody to brag for you, because a lot of times when something is so close to home, we take it for granted. But it's very rare that many players and that much success has come from a small town. Greenburgh is a very small town, for a long period of time. And I think that you're responsible for a lot of that, because basketball is kind of a culture in the community, and you're one of the pillars of that. So it's important.
Yeah, it's a big culture, you know, and that's why, you know, I love coaching, because I teach kids all about competition, and I use sports as a tool to, you know, get them advanced for the real world. Whether you're going for that job interview, whether you defending yourself, speaking up for yourself, you know, you learn all those things, you know, on the basketball court. You know, I think so. I just use basketball as a tool to build that mental. You know, even with me with coaching, you know, it's like it's a competition thing. You know, and I don't go out to say I'm the best, but I have to believe I'm the best and show them the best. And I think once kids, you know, see that, it kind of like follows suit. You know, I think that's why I was able to get Coach of the Year, New York State Coach of the Year. I got 2 gold balls from Alexander Hamilton. I have a state semifinal, let alone about 5 league championships from Hamilton. And coming into White Plains this last year, they went last place the year before, took them to 2nd place in the league, to top 8 in the whole double A. In which, you know, I just wanted to put the coaching world on notice, you know, that this is what we do, this is how we teach our kids. Like, you know, you want to make yourself noticeable. You know, that's how, you know, we get recognized, and, you know, people see those things. It's like, you know, just being last, because sometimes it's not about winning, but then it becomes about winning. And that loss could be a win, because it's how you competed. So I like to teach kids from an early age, and that's why I start with the mental. You know, with some kids, you know, get upset, they're nervous, they kind of get stiff, you know, but we get to talk about those things, you know, so that way they can grow mentally as they get older. Everything becomes smooth when the competition get greater.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't realize, especially people that may have never played sports, how much sports really helps you out in life. Because I always tell people, like, I'm in business now, and what I learned in sports, I apply more to business than what I learned academically in school. Like the lessons of being on time and working together with a team, and there's so many different life lessons that you can teach in sports, that even if somebody doesn't become a professional athlete, they're going to use down the line one way or another.
Oh, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that, you know, because that time management is everything. It's how you value the time. Because, you know, with kids in high school at a high level, especially on the elite level, they have to manage their time well. Because you're talking about maintaining an A+ average. You're talking about working out. Then you're talking about leaving the workout session, going home to read a book, you know, making sure you get your proper rest. So all those things help you develop, you know, especially for kids who are searching or in pursuit of scholarships, you know, and they have that vision, that goal. So we have to help them start that process at such an early age. So it's good.
For sure. So I wanted to ask you a question, a basketball question, because I was talking to a couple people, and I know you do personal training as well, right?
Yes.
So I feel like when I was a kid growing up, I just went to the basketball court and worked on my game by myself. But now it seems like kids don't really work out unless they're with a personal trainer. Like everybody has a trainer. So how have you seen that evolve as far as like personal training? And do you think that that's good? Obviously, it is good because kids are getting a higher level of coaching. But do you think that there's some negatives to that as well?
It's good and then it's bad at the same time because it's more or less you can use the training if you feel like you really need to work in certain areas. But me as a trainer, what I do is, I'll find out if the kid footwork is all going from the left to right, shot or whatever. But once we do this, it's not about me. It's about what you just said, how you got up in the park and you went and did things on your own. So that's what I like to do.
They take what you teach them and then implement it.
And just implement it.
Yeah.
So it's about them learning how to implement what they just learned and not necessarily needing that trainer or coach, to constantly tell them like you're doing it wrong. They have to begin to recognize that. And that's where that self-development comes in as well. So it has your good and bad because depending on what that other trainer is telling them, that this trainer may be better, this trainer may be better, or, just corrupting the mind, they should actually be telling them, don't wait to get around me.
Yeah.
Start doing this stuff on your own. So that's part of my whole development as well, to make sure that kid can get up on their own and start working on things that they worked on.
Got it. So you've been in basketball for a long time, right? And you've seen the evolution of AAU and kids having personal trainers, and so it's so advanced now. Like they rank the top third grader in the country now. Like, what's your thoughts on where basketball was and where it is now, as far as like just on the high school and junior high school and elementary level? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, to me, you really don't need AAU, but AAU has evolved to where it was. I think a seed was planted to think that you need to be ranked in order to get like recognized, but I think it's just being controlled from a marketing standpoint, and where schools can kind of like navigate towards the best kids. And that's why you have the Nike, you have the Adidas, and you have like the program that say they're associated with the Nike, Adidas, in which they need to try and just get the best kids, but half of those kids are not being developed. They just kind of running up and down the floor. Then sometimes when they get back to their high school, you see that they're athletic, but then the fundamentals is just not there. So it has its pros and cons, with it depending on if that's a developmental program or if it's a program that you need that best kid that's sort of already polished.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like scary because a lot of kids are getting kicked to the curb, then because the academics is not being focused on more so than just the athleticism and the athletics things that they do with athletics.
So it's business. It's a big business.
Yeah, it's a big business. So I try and avoid that, because my Frenji program's always been about development, because having guys like, Pierre, Ross, I'm watching the Woodlands kids and White Plains kids, because at an early age, before all these programs came around, like the Westchester Hawks and these other programs, I had those kids and I was kind of bonding the bridges between communities. I had Greenberg playing with White Plains, and we were just all in one gym at that Greenberg Community Center. So it was good to watch, Kurt Williams, Sean Kirkpatrick, and, Dante and Taylor Forster, even yourself. I watched you grow, into a great basketball player when Frankie used to take you all over. You just kind of saw the development where AAU is not really needed because you're going to end up selling yourself.
Right.
You're your marketer.
Right.
So that's what we try and push.
And that's why I try to tell a lot of kids now too, where it's like you don't have to be at the highest level programming. You just got to consistently get better, because you could be at these top AAU teams and not get any playing time.
No,
I think
absolutely.
A lot of parents don't fully understand that.
They don't understand that. That's because they don't have the knowledge of how it really is, because a coach may come around and be like, listen, I can get you looked at Division I, but that kid might not be Division I talent. So even in the summer league, you have schools that come to these summer leagues, they won't wear, who they are, but I said they have middlemen. If you've been working out and you develop extremely well, somebody's going to notice that. They'll have your information, because what I like now, what's happening is that the scouts and the co-assistant coaches, they're cutting out the middlemen. They're going right to the source. So they're talking to the guidance counselors. They're getting the academic transcripts. they're getting an update on the kid before they actually talk to that middleman, which could be that AAU coach, to see where, how they're gonna talk about that kid or market that kid, if they're gonna lie for that kid. And then if they do, it is a lie and the kid grades is not on point, that make it easy for them because they already got a heads up through the academic program from the high school, which is the transcripts.
Yeah.
So I think it is good that they, do that. But the way basketball is to now on the AAU circuit, I'm like, yeah, but nay at the same time.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? So you do coaching, you do personal training, you have grassroots program. What's your favorite aspect of what you do as far as basketball?
My favorite aspect is more like on the development, because I figured, I could do the X's and O's with the best of the coaches because I've had good teams, but I had talented kids, or okay talented kids that I really had to build, where some high schools had kids that were just at another level. So I took an average kid and turned that kid into an elite player. So development and teaching the game is more so what I like, more so than X's and O's on the coaching, aspect of coaching.
Mm-hmm. How would you do that? How do you take mediocre talent and make them better? Because that's like what great coaches do, right? They talent that everybody else had but couldn't elevate it, but a great coach elevates the talent. So what makes coaches do that? Like how is that done?
Well, with me, it's more like you're building skills. So while we're building skills, we're building the mind. And that's where that belief comes in at. So you have to believe that your skills is going to help you get to a point that's going to have you like noticeable, as we talked about. So I think developing the mind and that strong belief, that strong mental, more so than just the physical attributes, it's more so going to help you out.
Okay, got it. So for kids coming up, because everybody wants to be in the NBA, right? Like, what steps should players do in order to become better high school, better make it to Division I? Like that's everybody's goal. Like what, as a coach and watching talent for so long, what's your advice?
My advice, I tell kids, calisthenics, you got to make sure you're working out every day. You have to make sure you're eating right. You have to make sure academically, like everything is just on point, and you have to make sure your character is on point, because your character, kind of defines like who you are. So those little things right there are noticeable and get recognized, and from there is getting up every day at the same time has to be part of like your daily lifestyle. So working out every day at the same time, eating the right foods, every day at the same time, doing your homework, I think all those things right there really helps build that athlete, that surround athlete.
A lot of times people don't fully understand the intangibles. Like, well, coach, if a talent is the same level, but this kid is yelling at his coach or has an attitude, they're going to go with the kid that is quiet.
They're going to go with that quiet because fundamentals override like talent any day. Because I've been around kids where naturally they were born with like natural gift, so those became like, oh, I'm better than this kid, and this is at an early age. But then you have that kid that really likes the game, but is being told that if you do this, this is going to help you get better. If you do this, this is going to help you get better. So that kid start buying into that. Then they hit a certain age where that kid that has that natural gift get left behind, because now the kid that didn't have the natural gift is building skills. He's building a proper work ethic. He's building, the academic work ethic. He ended up passing the kid that has that natural gift. So I try and have the kid with the natural along with the kid that is being developed think on the same level, because I've seen and witnessed kids, that wasn't taught right, that had natural ability, get left behind later on in life.
Yeah, it happens a lot, especially when kids are young.
Yeah.
And they're really, really talented. They get lazy or they get complacent, and then it's like a race. Like you start to slow up, but somebody else is sprinting, but you don't see that person until they pass you.
Yeah, because the details are not being instilled.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to instill details. Usually if you come watch one of my programs, at Mighty Top program that I run at the community center, you know, it's sort of like a regime, because kids know when I walk in that they have to stand a certain way. You know, when we in position of dribbling, triple threat, they have to sit a certain way. You know, they have to shoot a certain way. You know, in which that nervousness come in, and you see it where they be afraid to make mistakes. But we get to talk about those things, so that way when they get older and they get around an aggressive coach, they would understand how to conduct themselves and handle themselves, as opposed to taking everything personal. So they learn the early aspect of criticism, but in a proper way, because it does come. So I think that helps out starting with kids at such a young age, and that's why I like to work with kids and learn how they think and how they react, you know, from 6 years old all the way through high school and college.
Yeah, it's important, for sure. So I'm going to put you on the hot seat, because we was having this debate a couple of days ago. So your years in the community, who's the 5 best players that you've seen that's come out of Greenberg?
Oh, man. The 5? I mean,
in no order, just...
Going back in history, when I came from Chicago, just sitting in that community center gym and loving the game, I think I have to start with George Abrams. You know, that's number 1. George was an assassin. And then from George, you know, I like Carl Sweeney, Rebos. Rebos was an amazing basketball player general. And then from the youth, I have to add the younger guys, even around their age, whatever. You were pretty good as well. But then you had like Tyrone Foster. Tyrone Foster was a
assassin.
Yeah. he
Sharpshooter.
Yeah, he was a different type of player.
Yeah.
And then you had, I think I can add Daniel Abrams to that. And that 5th one, Rodney Abrams.
Right.
Yeah, I can't leave Rodney out. And it's a lot more, you know, because you was good. It was a lot of great players, you know.
Yeah, I tell you, it's generational thing, because I never got to see Rodney or George play, even, you know, Remos early. So I just heard the stories.
Now, I got to witness all that, you know, at 15, because when I was, I guess, 15, 16, you know, it was hard to get up in that center gym, because they didn't let average basketball players come in. You had to really prove yourself, you know. So I think the day that they let us in with my first time, you know, I had to guard George, and I think he hit me with an elbow, knocked me down, and stepped on my chest. Then, you know, told me this was for big boys, you know. And I think that changed my whole dynamics of how I played the game. You know, it was about taking advantage of somebody, but that was just on the basketball court, you know, to make yourself noticeable. And when we start speaking about the other guys, you know, Tyrone was the same way, Daniel was the same way. You know, they just know how to take advantage, you know, of players, you know. So that 5th one is kind of hard. So I'm going to add you to the mix too. You know, because I always told you, even at Woodlands, you know, just watching you grow, and I think I used to give you little snippets about, you know, just staying focused, and look what you did, you know, University of what? Where did you start?
UMBC,
and then University of Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, but that's part of your development, what you're doing now. That's why I think I'm happy to be here, you know, talking to you now.
Appreciate that.
Watching guys like
he's being political. He's being political.
No, I'm not being political. You know,
I appreciate
it's
that.
true, because, you know what I mean? You know, I just turned 50. A lot of people don't know that. You know, I think I kind of...
you look like you're 32.
Yeah. You know, but I've been around basketball for a long time, and I think that's my knack of just giving back. You know, looking at how I grew up, wishing I had more discipline, like family-wise, wishing my family was more together. But, you know, just raising myself, you know, I had to find a way to want to just give back to where if I see a kid that was in my shoes, you know, and see them going through that, I would know how to talk to them. You know, listen, everything gonna be all right. This is why, you know, I'm here. But what I did was learn from other people, you know. So, and sometimes a kid may need that to learn from another individual if they're not getting that at home.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you and Frankie Williams, anybody doesn't know, was a staple in the community as far as basketball and just in general. Started the program Frenji, right? So can you just talk about that a little bit? I know it's basketball team, also apparel and other stuff. So,
well, I think I was in Atlanta, and that's when I came up with the idea, and I came back, and I just started. Needed something as entrepreneur-wise. How can I give back more to the community? So I came up with an idea to come up with a apparel line, but the name was like pretty hard to come up with. So Frenji ended up coming about, and I came to Frankie, and I was like, listen, I need you to be a part, of this whole like concept that I have, because Frankie was involved with the community center as well. So from there, we just kind of like built something that took off, where we're known like all over the United States because of AAU. We did so extremely well. We took kids from the community where we had Vegas, North Carolina, all over, and we connected with people that was able to support at the time. Like Paul Stalvey was a great guy, out of Rye, and helped out. And his son ended up going to Roll in Maryland. But those are guys that used to bring their kids to the communities, and allow us, guys like me and Frankie, to develop them. And from there we just grew. And apparel, that's just something we wanted to take to the next level, but Frankie ended up passing away. And I think that's when we ended up starting a game in his name in honor of Frankie, and which started at the Greenberg Community Center, then somehow got transformed into another direction that we're still trying to figure out, but we'll eventually like work that out.
Okay. So what teams do you have now, Frenji teams, like age-wise?
Right now, age-wise, we are starting from grassroots again. Like, from like, actually we want to get your kid going, which is about 6 now, right?
7.
7. From that we have a 4th grade team on the girls' side, and we're looking to rebuild the grassroots from like the 7 years of age. And we have girls' high school, we have 2 12U teams and 14U teams. So we're sort of back on the grassroots level, because what we like to do is take kids from early ages and cycle them through, and just use basketball as a tool, to nurture them, to make sure they're doing the right thing.
Okay. And this is kids from all over Westchester, right?
All over Westchester.
New York, period.
Yeah.
But mainly focused in Westchester.
Yeah, mainly focused in Westchester. And, and Frenji it's a for-profit because it's really apparel, started as an apparel, and I incorporated a sports program behind it. But what I did is kind of separate everything now and made a connection with the Greenberg Community Center, in which we are non-for-profit. We're just waiting for our 501c3 to kick in, tax exempt, and so we can begin to do more things where we don't have to worry about asking $700, which look like you just put money in your pocket, but it's actually going for the kids. So what we want to do is get into that grant arena where we can do more for the kids in the community. So, just thinking the Greenberg Community Center, that's going to allow me to incorporate that non-for-profit through there. It's going to help out tremendously.
All right, great. Well, once again, I want to thank you for coming. I appreciate you always. Before you leave, I want you to just tell the people, as far as personal training, as far as apparel, as far as if parents have kids that they want to put in your program, where they can contact you, your information, website, all that stuff.
My name is Benjamin Carter, as I said before. I'm head coach of White Plains High School, and then I'm affiliated with the Greenberg Community Center in the basketball programming. And that's where our program is ran out of, which is at 32 Manhattan Avenue in Greenberg, New York. And our website is FrenjiSports.com. And I can be reached at 914-260-2987. From our programs, as we said before, start from youth through high school. And training, that's something that has to be just worked out. But when you give a call or go on the website and send information, everything gets set up from there.
All right, there you have it. Another trending topics complete. Benji, thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Topic show with Rashad, Bilal, executive produced by Kevin Egger.